in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 181. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Dawson Tire & Wheel, your premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America, helping people grow. TractorZoom, delivering insights, and Dryshod Boots, the official work boot of the Moving Iron Podcast. This week, my guest is Dan Sullivan of Sullivan Auctioneers out of Hamilton, Illinois, and I've known Dan for a while, and I've had the privilege, is the word I'm looking for there, privilege to work with Dan on some different stuff we've done at 21st and just other things in general. And Dan, I just wanted to say welcome to the show, and thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Great. Casey, thank you. Thank you for having us, and I hope everybody's healthy and safe on your end, you and your family.
Yeah, things are a little different now. We're wrapping up the school year here at home this year, and keeping things moving the way we need to have them moving. But for the most part, it's quite a bit different than what we had expected to see this time of the year. But I guess with the stuff going on, it's one of those things that is necessary, but I'm sure ready for it to be over.
Yep, I think you and everybody else. But again, thanks for having me, Casey.
I appreciate that, Dan. Well, Dan, let's step back here and take a look at what's going on in the auction market. So, for those of you who don't know, Sullivan Auctioneers, they do a great job. They've got lots of stuff going on. They're one of the auction companies that I like to work with because they literally go coast to coast, border to border. They've been done auctions out here. They've done stuff out in Idaho. They've done stuff back east on the East Coast. Most of the stuff, just like everywhere else, the biggest chunk of the auction marketplace is between the Continental Divide and the Mississippi River, and they fit right in there and keeping that going. So, Dan, as you step back and kind of reflect on this last couple months here, what are some of your thoughts and what are some of your takeaways from this whole coronavirus thing and how it's affected the auction market?
Well, first of all, again, thanks for having me, and then secondly, thanks for the nice comments on our company. We're very fortunate to have a great family-owned business. But Casey, it's something kind of like you talked about. It's nothing that I don't think anybody could really see coming. You talk about the kids home from school and this and that. I mean, it's just it's affected everybody in every walk of life. But I guess your question as far as the ag world and the equipment and land. If you just woke up today and you've been in a coma for 2 months or in a deep sleep or hibernated, and you came out and you went to our auction results, and obviously we're not the only one out there, but if you went to our results and looked at what equipment and land, of course, farmers, a lot of the farmers obviously own land as well. The results have been not only just decent or respectable, but it's actually been in instances higher than it was before this COVID-19 hit us. And feel free to interrupt any time, Keith, if I get to rambling too long. But one thing is, it was with the company when we went to these online sales, was offering internet bidding for over 20 years, and one of the first ones to have it. On the backside of this, we had a great clientele in the database that we reached out to everybody, and we went to these 100% online auctions, and we did make a decision unanimously as a family-owned business, not only myself and my brothers, but my nephews, Luke and Matt and Michael and all of us. We made a decision, Casey, to pay 100% of the internet buyer's premium, and it's a big deal. I mean, it adds up to a lot of money, and we felt that, before you got a live auction, you're sitting there chanting it, you've got internet bidding. The people out there, whether it's a machinery dealer or a farmer, they had that option. Hey, I can go to a live auction, pay the handler price, don't get charged the buyer's premium, and you could do that. Or if you didn't want to travel or go to a sale, you had that option of bidding online, and then of course there was a buyer's premium online. So we just felt, and it took about 1 minute to decide as a family-owned business, but we felt once, not only forced to go to these online deals, but some of them we kind of got out there in front a little bit, and before we were absolutely forced to, we made a decision for the health of everybody to do these. We just felt like at that time they didn't have that option. You had to, they forced you to bid on the internet, and we just decided to pay those internet fees. And a lot of people said, "Boy, that's nice of you to waive them." They're not being waived; it's still being paid, but we were paying it and offer free internet bidding. So, but the prices, Casey, and is not backed off at all. And Machine Repeats covered several of the sales, and if you go to the archives of the recently from the middle of March to date, you'll see that from Kansas, Nebraska, Western Kentucky, and all around, the price has been strong.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's not been a real fall off in value that you see out there. And the one thing I was really shocked the most about this, and this is kind of leading to my next question, is I'm a real big fan of the online and live auction mix, right? I think you get kind of the best of both worlds, and you really get the real meat and potatoes of the buyer out there. And I've always felt like the internet buyer leaned on the bidding activity that they were listening to or watching out there to really kind of solidify. If you got 2-3 guys at the yard fighting over it, it must be as good as I think it is, or vice versa, right? When I look at that and I see the values that we see now, one, I guess, do you see this being kind of looking forward to the future? Do you see more internet buyers coming to the table and less at the show? Or do you feel like there's going to be kind of, once everything breaks back out, you're going to see everything kind of go back to the way it was?
Well, I think that, everybody says nobody likes changes.
Right.
And then you keep hearing, but sometimes you're forced to make changes. And if you're not, if you don't adapt to those changes, you're probably not going to compete in today's world. It's always interesting talking to you, not only right now during this podcast interview, but when we've met and talked at different events, and whether it's an auction or whether it's custom harvesters or whatever it is, you always seem to have such a hands-on and of what's going on, and that's what it's interesting to talk to you. And I love your question, but anybody that knows me, I'm one of 11 children. I'm confident at what I do. I'm not arrogant. There's a fine line. I'm just confident, and I've said it and said it and said it. I think, to use your words, and this is what we use when we sit down and meet with a farmer or a dealer about having an auction, say, listen, go with a live auction combined with internet bidding, as you just touched on, Casey, and we call it the best of both worlds, to echo what you had just said. Uh-huh. Now, we're going, how long, nobody knows. I've learned more in 58 days than I have in 58 years. I'm 58 years old. I've learned more.
Right.
And I'm saying and doing things that I'd never, ever believed that I would say. I felt like, again, a live auction in this. But there's one thing about these online events, Casey, that the people, you got the energy to go back to what you said. You're listening online, and you can hear that auctioneer going. You got people competing, and that internet guy jumps in, and he clicks, and he bids, and this and that. That's true. But if there's bidders out there now, that everybody is on that same level playing field, mm-hmm. and you're bidding with an auction company, and again, we're not the only ones out there. There's a lot of great companies out there, but if you're bidding with a company that's been around for 40 years or 30 years, whatever, we've been in the business over 40 years, and we have built a reputation of absolute, no shenanigans, transparency. We can go on and on. So when we're forced to go to these online events, you have the people bidding across the country that already know who we are. Maybe they can't hear me out there, but they know that, Luke Sullivan, Matt Sullivan, their reps, Zach Heiner, who you know very well out in Indiana, does a great job, just rep the custom harvester sale in southern Kansas. So they know when we label that stuff, that, yeah, you can't hear me, but they also know it's a Sullivan sale. We're going to put plenty of pictures out there. We're not going to over brag on stuff. If something has an issue, we'll point it out. I think people feel comfortable bidding, and more so in today's world, with a company on the other end that they trust the bidding on. So moving forward, Casey, I think that I'm not saying that there won't be, live auctions at all. We're not putting our auction trucks up for sale at all. But we are, until we find some footing and navigate through this thing, we're going to, there's some states that are partially opening up. But again, this online format, everybody is equal. They're all, if there's an auction, tomorrow at Imperial, Nebraska, and somebody thinks, oh, shoot, I was going to go to that. But you know what? 70% is going to be sold to probably an on-site bidder. Internet, there's no use me even going to it or logging on. Now, everybody has to go. So we're seeing our total buyers, total bidders increase drastically since this. Not only, if you have an on-site sale and maybe have 250 or 300, people, and have another, 200-300 online now, we get done with just a kind of a decent average sale out in Kansas the other day, and we have 1,300 some total bidders. Maybe twice what we would have.
Yeah.
With online and on site together, twice. Our big 3-day equipment auction event, we had over 3,000 registered bidders, unheard of. So we're seeing a lot more bidders, and I think that they all feel they all have a fair shot at it. They know it's not costing them a dime to bid. They know that the stuff's going to be represented right. And, Casey, the farmers are still going to put a crop in this year.
Oh, yeah.
Every acre will get planted. Mm-hmm. They're going to take a crop out this fall, and they're going to need machinery to do it with. And you, as good as anybody, knows that the new stuff's not going to get any cheaper. So we're cautiously optimistic that we're going to see, a firm ag economy out there.
Okay, so that kind of leads to the next thing. So the conversations that you have with the bidders that call in, and they're asking about a piece of equipment and getting your opinion of it, and condition and those kind of things, and asking those little detailed questions they like to ask. How has that changed? Have you seen a change in that from?
No, I really wouldn't. They're going to ask it anyway. A lot of times, a farmer out there that is interested in a tractor or combine or planter or whatever the case may be, maybe a hay rake, maybe something insignificant, doesn't have to be the highest dollar item on the sale. A lot of times that farmer wants to call and talk to either the sale manager or often, maybe more so than that, even the owner.
Right.
We'll put, and even on these online deals, we've got big ads coming out now in High Plains and the Colorado Fence Post and the Farm World out in Zach Heiner's area. June, we got the busiest month we've ever had in our life, Casey. Busiest ever in June coming up.
Yeah, I see that.
Every one of them are going to be a timed, online only event with free internet bidding. And I think that I don't think we're going to back up a bit. And there's some pretty large sales, as you're aware of.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at your website now, and there's I don't know how you're going to get to all these places and do all this stuff with all the stuff you got going on here in June, but you're packed full about every day, and
yeah, and we even have more that we're putting on. My nephew Luke is working on an auction that if it isn't on today, I think it'll be on Monday. Probably one of the nicest. It's a pretty big statement, but probably one of the nicest estate machinery auctions we've ever had. I mean, there's a 9620 RX John Deere, 770 combine, DB priming. The list goes on and on. It's just a real nice estate. It's going to be in June. And Casey, to have this hit us, and it's affected so many people in different ways. Not only the agriculture world, but so many others. But for us to sit here and not have to cancel or postpone one machinery sale. We've moved forward with every single one of them. And then to turn around here in June and not have anybody back down or say, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not saying they like it. There's some people, older folks like myself, man, I sure, when are you going to get back to the on-site? When are you going to get back to, you know what? I'm not too proud. I don't know. I can't answer that. You tell me when they're going to come up with the vaccine and who's all going to get,
Right.
So we have to, it's kind of like Rob Randall said, I was talking to Rob the other day about our big dealer sale coming up in Iowa, and he said, Dan, I totally get it. He said, I'm perfectly comfortable bidding that way. He said, you know, what you do, it makes sense. He said, you have to play with the cards that you're dealt. And we're dealt these cards, and we're fortunate enough that us sellers have confidence in us that we can still get the same results we could at a live auction.
So are you, as you make around and do the stuff that you're doing here, are you still going to the physical place and actually calling it there, or are you doing it from your office?
Well, when we started out, I think the very first one, we had what was it? Ed's machinery auction in Missouri on a Friday.
Yeah.
And then we flew to Colorado that night for a sale on Saturday and chanted it live, and then flew to Zach Heiner had a sale for Greg Thurman harvesting in southern Kansas on the 16th. It was on a Monday. We get on the airplane ready to fly out of there, and I mean, we're scrambling around and trying to decide. The very next day, we went to Southern Illinois trying to decide what deal. We decided at 5:30, Casey, on Monday evening, the 16th of March, for the following morning, for a $1.6 or $7 million sale, to go to online only.
Yeah.
We told the seller, say, listen, we got everything on the backside of this thing. We've got the data. We're going to move forward. We're going to have a big sale, and it was a record sale. That particular one, what we did to kind of break into this thing, Casey, we chanted it virtual here at our office in Hamilton, Illinois. I was looking into a computer. I chanted the auction. Awesome. The very next day, the 18th, and then moving on, and then Luke had a sale by Galesburg, Illinois, somewhere. We did a timed online only. Shane Repeat covered it. All three tractors broke the bank by a mile. So we were kind of doing both, depending on the size and how long. Of course, a virtual auction, when you're chanting it into a computer here at home, at the office, it takes quite a bit longer. Sometimes people would lose their, I can't hear you, what are you saying? So what we have been doing is doing a timed online without me chanting it. People are, bidding, and the bidding gets extended. It seems to be a little more kind of even keel, and everybody's, able to do that instead of losing connections. And some people can't hear you, and some can. And, if you put the information online and you offer free internet bidding, and they've got a question, they can still call the owner or sale manager. So we're doing them all moving forward until further notice. We're doing them all timed online. The only thing we're doing that's a virtual that we're chanting, Casey, and on a different subject, is land, because usually you've got one tract, or maybe 3 or 4. You got 160 acres, a quarter section. You break it into 280s. It takes 30 minutes to do it by the time you read the method and terms. And sometimes on those land people, you're not trying to sell 200 lots or something. You're just selling, a couple pieces of ground. So we've been kind of doing those virtual, but most of them it's just been timed online, and people can know what time an item's going to sell. And if you've got a combine and 2 heads, you'll sell the combine, and those heads may be 10 lots down the line, just in case if that bidding gets extended and somebody buys the combine, they can still. So sometimes the sale order might be a little bit different than it would at a live sale. What's
been the customers? What was their initial reaction that first sale with the online bidding only? What was some of the local flavor there? I mean, did you get some pushback? Did you get some, what are you guys doing? Or did people pretty much understand what was going on?
Oh, no, there's always pushback when you have change, right?
Right, yep.
There's people like that's just been going to these things. And we try to, Casey, you've been here, and we've been out there, and vice versa. We try to make an event out of everything, and we welcome people, and often they'll buy their rooms and motels and meals, and hey, it's been a social gathering, and people like to come, and all of us, not just me, but all of our group and our 50-some full-time employees and reps and stuff, we like it. So obviously, there's a lot of people that would rather it was, online or on site.
Right.
They could come and they could look at the items. But I think when it comes down to ultimately selling the tractor or combine or grinder mixer, whatever the case may be, my own mother, I mean, she's born, July 12th of 31. If she makes it till July 12th, which I think she will, she'll be 89 years old, and she FaceTimed me yesterday and computer and just, I mean, I just think if this was 20 years ago or 15 when this thing hit, so where would we be? We'd be out of business. I mean, we'd be on, on standby. We wouldn't. It's like Luke said, we've never missed a beat, man. He said we've gone on and actually gained momentum. So where we're at on this thing in the bidding era, almost everybody, whether it's our little boy to my mother, I mean, it seems like everybody has access to it and knows how to do it. And if you don't, there's somebody that can. And there's instances, Casey, where maybe somebody says, I just don't have anybody, and we'll call up, we'll let you get on the phone and do that. So we've made it work. Again, I can't answer it moving forward, and everybody wants to know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know. Nobody saw this thing coming. But we've been very, very fortunate to be able to still go on, and I think people, to answer your question, well, what was there some, pullback, and what are they saying? It isn't, a lot of them like, the live auctions, including myself, obviously, but hey, this is what we had at this point, and I think everybody was understanding. Well, some of them did, I did with John Kinzenmog, a good friend of ours in Williamsburg, Iowa, in March, and he said, man, Dan, I'm ready to kind of get back to sale, and he likes going to sales, and a lot of people like that, event, and it's but also at the same time, and John, as good as anybody, Mr. Kendall understands, the safety of the family and comes first, and so this is what we're doing, and we'll see where it shakes out. It may be a while.
Yeah.
I mean, in some of these states that are open partially, I mean, there's sales, there's people having some sales, and then it's supposed to be limited to how many, and obviously the word that everybody talks about, social distancing and all this, but different states are different. Different counties have different regulations. There's confusion, and some people, even if they opened up our state tomorrow, which they won't, but if they did, I can tell you there's a lot of people that are not going to feel comfortable being around the crowd. So again, these online deals, everybody is treated equally. They're all on the same playing field. They're all playing by the same set of rules, and we're not going to make anybody feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And we think it's not only the thing to do, but it's working.
Yep, absolutely. No, I agree with all that. So as you take a look kind of moving forward here, auction marketplace the last 3 or 4 years especially has started to heat up earlier and earlier every year, and it almost feels like we have a pretty much a 12-month auction cycle, but that late June, July into August, and then obviously through the end of the year, auctions really seem to start picking up some steam. As you take a look out at your calendar and what you guys got working, do you expect to see anything different going through the end of the year this year?
I don't know, Casey. Good question. I'm not sure how this thing's going to play out. What we're doing right now is, and by the way, since I've been on with you just now, my nephew Luke just sent me a text, and that really good sale at Morris, Illinois, he just put online, so it is online now. I don't know if you're setting my computer, but it's a one heck of a sale. But anyway, to answer your question, our August sales that we have booked, and our September, November, and December is always one of the busiest months in the ag world. We have a lot, probably more so than ever we've had in 40 years auctions, but we have not put them online yet. We don't like to go in there and load our website up and just try to impress everybody with, hey, look at that, we've got 140 sales coming up. We'd rather take care of the people that hire us in the near future. Now we're really concentrating on June and July. Our upcoming book that will go out with these June sales on, and not try to get and get everybody lost and trying to sort through a catalog with 140 sales or this or that. So to answer your question, we're dealing with what we have right now. When we get to this August and to see where we're at and as far as what format it'll be, we'll play that as it gets closer. Our August people that we have contract with. We've been in contact with him and say, hey, Mr. Doe, whatever the case may be, we don't know what we're going to be at that point, but if we have to stick to this online format, here's our results, here's Machine Repeats video covering this. And I mean, we've not stubbed our toe on not one machinery auction. So in November, December, our sales, we've got a bunch in Kansas and Colorado, and like you said, coast to coast and border to border, literally. And we're telling those people, hey, hold on just a second. Let's just see how this thing kind of plays out. We're fine. I'm not saying that everybody's going to be 100% comfortable with it. And they say, hey, listen, I still want a live auction. We're going to say, hey, listen, we'll tear up the contract. Let's just see how this thing plays out. If we don't think it's the thing to do it, and they're still making us do it, or they haven't lifted regulations enough, that there could be some that would be postponed and moved on. We just haven't had to do it yet. So again, in the near future, these full-page ads that we have coming out in these major publications for these June sales are all going to be online. I can't answer. Casey talked to Zach kind of this morning. He's got some nice sales booked out there in Indiana. They're doing a great job out there for us. And Zach said, what do you think? You know what? I said, just, I'm going to come out there next week. We're going to go around and see these people and just not really hold their hand, but say, listen, this thing's okay. This thing's all right.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like you're a guinea pig and we're going to experience an online sale with you. We've never done it before. With this online bidding for 20 years and all the data that we've acquired, obviously proven, tried and proven that these online sales are fine. So I don't know, tell me if they're going to have a state fair. Are they going to have these county fairs? Are they going to have the Farm Progress Show? Are they going to have Cornhusker Day? There's a lot of unknown out there, and we're unknown as to this fall, how it's going to play out, whether it's going to be on-site or online.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see how what happens this year and how it, how the dynamics towards the end of the year are going to happen. Just like you said, you're going to have a crop planted, so you got to harvest a crop, and we got a lot of things, a lot of wheels turning out there. And quite honestly, like you said earlier, I joke about it all the time on here. I wouldn't know if anything was going on if I just woke up from a coma, right? Until I went to Walmart, right. Then I'd realize something crazy was going on. But other than that, it'd be all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and our land sales, nothing to do with machinery, but our land sales, we sold a farm, hadn't even closed on it yet, a couple weeks ago for $14,000 an acre. We thought we'd bring, 11 or 12,000. I mean, I'm talking a top shelf farm, set a new record. Sold another tract that day for $11,000 and selling ground, all around. And, I mean, just boom, just staying right in there. I mean, if there's any weakening, maybe Casey, instead of just acting like everything's all great, but there's maybe some weakening in some of these pasture tracts with the cattle market and the livestock guys are probably suffering as much as anybody. And I sure hope they come up with something to help them out. But maybe some of these pasture farms and where we're dealing with the cattle guys. Of course, I own a lot of cattle myself, so I'm feeling a little as well, but some of those tracks maybe not as as strong as they were. But you know what? We're going to have to feed the world, and people are living longer. We're going to work through this, and we're farmers and ranchers and dealers, and we're working with some of the best people in the world, and we're going to get through it.
One of my favorite things that you guys do, and it gets bigger every year, is your collector car memorabilia auction that you do. And so I'm on your website looking at it right now, and it looks like you got a 4-day auction coming up with some pretty neat stuff on there. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, that makes me laugh. It's unreal. We started that thing, Casey, and of course, obviously a lot of farmers and ranchers out there are really into these collector cars and collector pickups and memorabilia. Mm-hmm. That market is it's crazy. Be our 14th year. We had it booked for May 11th, and of course, with everything happening, we put it off. We said, stay tuned. We'll let you know. We looked at the venue there in Quincy, Illinois, the Oakley Lindsay Center. We had some dates that they put a hold on for us for September, and then kind of communicating back and forth, and I don't know, whether you could gather 2,000 or 3,000 people in the venue at that time, and kind of back and forth, and a lot of behind closed doors discussion. My brother Joe heads that thing up, and finally, here not that long ago, Casey, we were kind of having a company meeting, and I said, you know what, Joe, this is no different than these land and equipment auctions. Go to with an online only. And he said, "How about a virtual? Man, how about you chanting?" And I said, "They don't need to, Joe." I said, they know, what that is, and their car people are as computer savvy as anybody. A lot of them do it that way. I said, "We've been doing it 14 years. We've got the contacts, and let's do that." And we have, without a doubt, the biggest, and there's going to be records set on that online sale. We're doing free internet bidding there too, Casey Seymour, 100% buyer friendly. And I'm not throwing stones at anyone else, so don't take it that way. But so many companies, not only do they do a buyer's premium, some of them now that it has to go online has even raised some of those fees. If you can believe such a thing, taking advantage of it. We're going the opposite way. We're not only waiving them 100%. We're paying their fees, and so I think that people are going to feel comfortable bidding. They're going to have multiple pictures. We'll be having videos. It'll still be pretty personable. We'll put videos onto that, but when we have all these cars consigned, and then this thing hits us, we've reached out to them. I say we, our sales manager, Brother Joe, and Craig Horace reached out to our consigners and said, "Hey, listen, we're going to an online-only event. What do you think?" And I mean, everyone would say, "Listen, I have totally confidence in Sullivan Auctioneers. Absolutely, leave it on there for sure. Great. And it's so big now that it's 4 days, and even if every one of those car sales has been a single day, big 2 or 3 rings. Even if it would have been a live on site, we were still going to move it to 2 days. But now with the memorabilia and the collections we have, it's cool. I mean, it's really a neat sale, and the interest across not only the country but other parts of other countries in the world. It's amazing, and we're really excited about that. That's going to be a 4-day event, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, we got some. So as you take a look at what you got going on now, in the next 30 days or so, what auction do you have on your billet right now that you're the most excited about to see how things shake out, and a specific piece of equipment or something on there that you're really anxious to see how things roll out?
Yeah, I don't know. There's, everybody kind of internally in this company always kind of kids me, and my brother Jim kids me a lot, and Luke and Matt and Michael and all of them. Like, man, you just love it, don't you? And I do. So I like them all. I'm not a car person. I don't like cars. I don't know the first thing about them, and I'll be the first one to tell you. But man, is that a fun sale? When I would set up there in the auction block for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours nonstop and selling it. I mean, fun just to see the excitement. So that's obviously the one we have coming up. The one that Luke just now put on, I can't wait to see what some of that stuff brings. And I guess one that I'm really excited about, and we're doing a probably the largest John Deere inventory reduction auction we've ever done in 40 years for Sinclair Tractor out of Iowa. 13 locations, and for them to have the confidence in us and put 70 or 80 combines on that thing and is huge. We're really excited about that event, and some great people to work for, and all their employees and stuff. And Bob Sinclair's put together quite a dynasty up there, and his father and the whole Sinclair family. So I guess there's some top ones right there that we're really excited about.
Well, that Sinclair one is definitely one I'm going to pay attention to. There's a lot of stuff on there, and just the level of equipment that's there. There's a good opportunity that's going to change the marketplace a little bit one way or the other. So I'll definitely keep my eyes open on that one. The other one I'm paying attention to here, and I've been looking through here, is that one you got coming up here in first part of June. There's you hinted to a minute ago. Here it is. It's got the 9RX and the Hagee on it. Looks like a June 19th sale. Yeah.
Yep.
Gemini Farms. Yeah.
Yep. Luke just put it on since I've been on the phone with you. He sent me a text to our group and said I got it on. That's going to draw a lot of eyes too. And that's a remarkable story. I mean, this gentleman started the company and sold it for who knows what, and then kind of took on farming as kind of a hobby, and it's cool. I mean, Luke and Matt, when they came back from writing that up, they're like, just wait till you see this one, Uncle Dan. It's awesome. So yeah, like I said, with what we have going on in June and July, and what the cards, so like Rob Randall said, the cards you get dealt, you play with those cards and do the best you can, and we're just excited that many people, but we've worked for 40 years, put their trust in us to continue doing these online event auctions, and knowing that we're going to, I mean, there's more work to it, Casey Seymour. There's more work. You go out to a farm, there's, the one that Luke just put on that you were just talking about with that, the tractor and the 7, all the S3 and everything that's on that sale, the DB planter and the Aggie sprayer, all that type of stuff. Not only that, which you internet and offer live internet, but that would have been online. We've got toolboxes full of tools. You think, I never thought of that. Well, they have all got to be lotted. So every little item, to a spare tire, to a pitchfork.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more work to these online sales than us paying the internet fee again, and we're glad to do it. But there's more expense on our end to do it this way than there would be just to have an on-site sale. There's more work to it, Casey.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's about having a satisfied customer, and that sale leads to another sale, and we're going to take care of the sales in the near future. We'll worry about our August sales pretty shortly, and then our November, December sales. We're not going to just start posting those sales and then change halfway through the stream. We're going to deal with what we have to deal with and moving forward.
Yep.
So I'm excited about a lot of them, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. There's a level of detail, a whole new level of detail to put something online and bid it through pictures as you do anything else. So there's plenty of opportunity there to really kind of to change the game and to move things forward in a different direction for Sullivan Auctioneers.
Well, thank you. Exactly. Thank you, Casey.
Good deal. Well, Dan, I appreciate you being on the podcast. If folks wanted to find Sullivan Auctioneers, what's the best place to go find that at?
We're just pretty accessible. SullivanAuctioneers.com. They're toll-free at the office. One of our helpful ladies can get the word to us. We're accessible. Our name's on the side of the building and side of the trucks, and we're still the owners. And we can be reached toll-free at 844-847-2161. And I greatly appreciate you taking time to reach out to me and let me kind of show what's going on the back side of this thing, and stay healthy, tell your wife and kids hi, and we'll hope to see you.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. I'd like to thank Dan Sullivan of Sullivan Auctioneers for being my guest. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Also, movingironllc.com for all the latest Moving Iron blog posts. Also, check out the Global Ag Network and the great podcasters out there as well. If you have interest in being a part of the Moving Iron Summit this year in Nashville, Tennessee, make sure you check out movingironllc.com and go to the Moving Iron Summit and get the information there. Or you can send me an email at movingironpodcast@movingironpodcast.com. So I am Casey Seymour with Dan Sullivan. Until next time, let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.